our course coordinator, Dr. Shiv Shankar Jana, to introduce the chairman of this session, Professor Chel, and he is also the vice president of this organization, and he will introduce the speakers. Dr. Jana, please.
Okay, good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. Now we are going to start the day 2 technical session 2, and in this session I would like to request Professor Madan Mohan Chel. He is now the joint course coordinator and the vice president of International Indian Institute of Social Reforms and Research, and also he is the editor of IISRR-IJR and the professor and head of the department in education and Seacom Skill University. So now I would like to request Professor Madan Mohan Chel, please you act as a chairperson of this session. Professor
Thank
Chel,
you, Shiv Shankar Babu.
Yeah.
Good afternoon. Welcome to eminent personalities and dignitaries and my dear participants. Today is the second day of our international workshop. Yesterday, different speakers have discussed the objectives and plan of execution of the workshop. Actually, the main purpose is on the development of the art of writing research article. I think most of us have already been published some of their articles. So our endeavor will be towards the qualitative improvement of writing skill. We are already acquainted with the components of the research paper that have been discussed yesterday through International Journals of Research, that is IJR. Today, in the second technical sessions, we are going to deliberate on the topic selection and review of the related literature, highlights and byways, that is offline and online. And today we have with us, we are thankful to Professor S. Chandel. He is with us, and with a short introduction, I will request him to start his deliberation. Professor Chandel is the former head of the department, professor and head of the department of the Library Information Science, Northeastern Hill University, Ceylon. He is also UGC Emeritus Fellow during the period tenure 2012 to 2013. He is also the member of the advisory board of NCERT and National Library of India. Being the chairman of the Library Digitization UGC project, his contribution is worthwhile. He was also nominated for the SAC Nation to represent India as Deputy Director in 1994 to 1997. He has served the publication to his credit, books and 70 papers in national and international journals. One of the important books under his publication is Knowledge Management in Digital Era, that has been published in 2012. He is the recipient of the Punjab Library Association Award, Professor Sotija Award for Professional Excellence, and Award of Honor by the Association of Agricultural Libraries and Documentaries of India. He is at present associated in the Sikkim University. With this brief description, I like to request Professor Chandel to start his deliberations. Our participants are eagerly waiting for hearing your deliberation.
With the permission of the chair, may I request his ex-colleague, Devashish Pal. He was working with, associated with him for a long time in Sikkim Central University. If chairman give me permission, then I would request Devashish Pal to say about Professor Chandel, please.
Yes.
Sir, welcome, BC sir, Dilip Mohan
Say
sir.
something.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chairman, Professor Chel, former Vice Chancellor, Professor Dilip Kumar Mohanto, Kolkata University Vice Chancellor, former Vice Chancellor, and other dignitaries, Dr. Dash, and other and participants of this today program. Just in brief, I had an opportunity to work with him when I was the finance officer of Sikkim University during last 4 years. Just 6 months before, 3 months before I left Sikkim University and joined as Jadavpur University now. Professor Chandel is a good personality, and at this age of 72, 73, he is one of the youngest researcher and scholar. And every day I saw him to read books and do the work from morning 9 o'clock to even night 9 o'clock night. So 12 hours to 14 hours every day he is doing for the development of the library and the academic environment of the university. And one thing everybody appreciate, and one thing it is applicable to Professor Chandel, everybody told, even my Vice Chancellor, former Vice Chancellor, other Vice Chancellor, when Professor Chandel left one organization, perhaps he worked in 5 central universities. He's among the professor. He worked 5 central universities during his service period. He left one library behind him when he left one organization. So good library. All the Mizoram University Library, Central University Jharkhand Library, Sikkim University Library, Lucknow University Library. So he left one library behind him when he left one organization. So this is my brief introduction for my former colleague. He is one of the youngest, I think so, youngest scholar still today. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Devashish Babu. Now I request the living librarian and to hear from him. The participant will be benefited from your deliberation, sir. Professor Chandel.
So thank you, sir. Thank you, Chairman of the session, and Professor Das, and my colleague Devashish Paul, who just recommended, I am a recommended candidate to be present with this audience today. So my first observation and congratulations to all the members of the Institute. And I have an observation that in writing research paper, technical papers, I think this is one of the few, workshops that is being done on writing is it's rarely, I think, organized. I think this will help the young scholars, I think, from various countries who will be benefited by this workshop, which is a very long workshop. So perhaps my opportunity for being with you and discuss certain issues confronting today's research work. So I'm grateful to Devashish Paul that he has introduced me. So though I was awfully busy, but I could not say no to him and to share. So this is my opportunity to share some of my experiences. So the topic which has been assigned to me is selection and review of related literature, long way and Byways. So maybe this has been used in the context of, I think, online or offline, but only I can also interpret it that how we proceed in selection and reviewing of literature. Should we take by lane, or we should take a highways, which is highways are faster, but sometimes by lanes you can have a approach. I mean, you can reach earlier, but you will have a tough journey. Road will not be that smooth. So that I will just begin with, though it's not a very relevant one, but excuse me, sir, let me know the time for me.
Sir, you can take 45 minutes to
Okay,
1
sir.
hour.
Okay. Uh, so I'm beginning with, I mean, this may not be very relevant, but I want to just take up the parts of the research paper, which everybody knows. It's not a new thing to be discussed, or but in relation to, I have a specific purpose in relation to review of literature. So the title, the requirement of the title in research paper, or even the dissertation, is that it should be catching title, brief, I mean comprehensive, I mean, and very expressive of everything which you are going to include in this. The author affiliation, we have a primary author, we have a corresponding author. So there are issues regarding the corresponding author and the primary authorship, and who will take the credit for being important author when you do the evaluation. So obviously the requirement is that you should have a basic intelligence to write a paper. Analytical and synthetic analysis should be within you. Unless you are analytical, you will not be able to write, and I mean the proper a research article. So the power of observation and persistence, creativity, ethics, and responsibility. So these are some of these issues which everybody has, or everybody should have once you think of writing a dissertation or writing a research paper. So this is then when you come to, if it is a research paper, then you have to write a paper, abstract, and abstract writing is also very complicated. It can be very brief, or it can be informative, or in a very short form. So you are governed by the direction of the the editor, how he wants, whether it should be informative or it should be slightly indicative index. So these are some of the elements, parts: introduction, objective, methodology, finding, discussion, conclusion, etc. So these are, but here now I think now come to dissertation part. Earlier, I think in research papers, there is no heading like review of literature. It may include review of literature, may not review of literature, but it's a mandatory when you write a dissertation. So the review of literature is very essential. It has a significant importance to go further in writing. So so these are the important part of the thesis or the dissertation, that we begin with introduction, and immediately after introduction we begin with review of literature. Review of literature, in my opinion, review of literature is slightly, if review of literature has been done systematically, analytically, properly, I think half of the research is being done. I mean, the review of literature itself is a research, and it will give you on the path. It will show you the path how to proceed further. So, important thing for to begin with is the choice of the topic and the literature review. These two components, in my opinion, is more crucial and more difficult to deal with, to begin with. And the status is very crucial when you select a topic. The selection of topic, in my opinion, if it is done, should it be done before writing a review, or it can be done after you choose the title, the topic? I think these two aspects are so crucial because the researcher is absolutely not knowing fully. They may know something about research methodology, which they earlier in their MPhil course or the prescribed, which they do in preliminary courses on research methodology. But research methodology may not discuss much of these two elements. This time, when researcher is not able to find out that what should I do, or how should I proceed, which topic should I choose, and the researcher, the researcher needs a lot of help. He's really in difficult situation at this time, but he's not able to get the right guidance during this time. Reason being that his supervisor may be busy. He may not be able to devote so much time, which he requires, and he miserably needs assistance from his colleagues, from seniors, particularly from supervisor. So that is a very, very important thing, and I think all supervisors should realize this. These difficulties in the beginning of the research. The researcher needs maximum help in choice of the topic what he would like to take up, and normally, the choice is based upon his preference or his interest, what interests him, but not necessarily that he should choose a topic which is of his interest or his liking. But if he is able to find out, where is the gap? What is the gap? Where should I do? Where work has not been done? So that consideration can also be taken. I happened to meet a research scholar sitting, a beginner research scholar yesterday, I think. I asked him what you are going to do. What is your topic of these things? He told me that I'm trying to write on this tentatively. I have selected evolving geopolitics in the Indian Pacific region, a study of India's maritime security. So I asked him, how will you do? How would you proceed in searching literature? Will you go? Will you search literature on geopolitics or maritime security, and how will you coin these words so that precisely you'll be able to know this thing? You will be able to extract the right information. But at this time, I think at this stage, knowledge of the researcher is very inadequate. Even I have observed, even the catalog is being not effectively searched. Even sorry to say, that if I say that even the faculty members and the very good researcher may not be able to explore and explore all possibility of searching even a small, the catalog of a library. This is the situation, and this is my hypothesis, and this I think that even the faculty we are not literate, we are not information literate, and we don't want to be literate also. We are illiterate and we don't want to be literate. That is a big issue. So the requirement, the basic need, what the researcher should know, that he should have a knowledge of resources and searching skill. So searching skill is a very crucial. Information, I think, is available in plenty, but to dig out, to extract the right information is really a very, very complex issue, even for the expert. You cannot get precisely what you are looking for. So that finding skill, finding of information skill is required. Then self-efficacy is also important in the beginning. Should have some confidence of doing things properly. And so identifying that when you say that when you decide that I am working on this and this, so you should have the capability of knowing that where I can find my information, because we are in an ocean of information, and you will come across many thousands of 20,000s of journals and many hundreds of databases, but you have to, where you can match, the matching of your requirement with the resources is also very, very important. I am happy that I saw this hurriedly of this program that you are, some of the speakers are also working on this web, discussing Web of Science, Scoopers, and other, so citation sources has its own value, but are being rarely referred. I'll discuss later that how this Web of Science or a citation indexing can help the researcher in the beginning to find out their right information. Then what the other requirement is also that the researcher should also know about the plagiarism. Basic knowledge of plagiarism. When it's not that at the end of what I have experienced, at the end of when they are on the completion of their research, they know something about the plagiarism, and they are not able to how to quote, how to avoid plagiarism. So they are not knowing about these things. So they should have, at least I feel, that plagiarism also in the beginning of basic knowledge of plagiarism should be there, that how to avoid these things, how to do paraphrasing, etc. How you can, without reproducing the same content, how can you quote them? So, and the publication ethics, I am not going to discuss it because I have seen publication ethics is being discussed by another speaker, or it's within the area of this workshop. So these are, but if a researcher can collaborate and can come to know that after select that this is the core research area of some other organization, if you can get some help, that will be adding value to his work. So he should also know that what are the research area of a particular university and how they will be able to help. So this is going to, collaborative research is always recognized. It has a recognition everywhere that if it is a collaborative, it will have a more merit. And also the ideas of other collaborators. So this will be combined. Then a researcher at the end of their research work, researcher today, they are quite smart also, much smarter than the earlier one. That is how referencing is a very, very crucial issue. Even because you have to quote various types of material. Sometimes you take audio, you take video from also, and book material, edited books, composite book. I mean, you take references from various types of sources, and you should have a capability of knowing that how to do it. But mechanically also the endnotes and Mendeley, if you are familiar. But even if it is transformed in a particular format, even the manual requirement is also required. So I come to that before attempting to write. I am audible, sir, to you. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Before attempting, I'm coming to now the core of the topic, that is writing a review. What are the preliminaries which every researcher should know, and every the student who was embarking upon research activities, so he should know the search strategies and search formulation quite well. Today, nobody has patience for work on searching, making a statement that how should I proceed. He's not. I mean, I have seen even the professional writing a complete sentence on the search box and expects the precision information. So that I think that is out. Knowingly that this is not going to give you. It will give you thousands of records which may not be relevant to you. So this, that is very important. But and familiarity with the, you have to be precise, and to obtain precision in searching, you should know Boolean logic or advanced search. And I don't think that how many of us, we are searching some information, you will bother to go to advanced search and complicate your things, though it's very useful, but we just from simple search we get satisfied with our own by doing only simple search. Even the catalog, I'm going to discuss about this in later, but that how much we are ignorant about these things. And the basic source is, it is in the context of Indian scholars that they should have a familiarity with. If you are working on a thesis, you must know that what work has been done. And earlier it was very difficult for us in the same department. I have observed that during the, the faculty members are not ignorant what their department have already done. So there have been a duplication of research within the same department with slight variation in the title. So it has to be ensured that what you are going to attempt, it should not be duplicated. There should not be a duplication of research. Then a little knowledge about the Thesaurus knowledge is also required. Because why it is required? Because there are so many terms being used in searching, and you have to match a search term, your search terms, with the search terms of the indexer and the author, which is not. So you have to explore all possibilities that maybe that this is not the significant term. See, the author might have used this term. So that you have to know all these intricacies of searching. Now this is a definition which I have taken, two definition, but in To be very precise, I think we should know before we proceed in our own work that what has been done earlier. I mean, what is the past knowledge in the area in which you are going to start your own research? And this is not only to avoid the duplications, but it's going to give you insight. And this will form, in my opinion, the basis on which you'll be able to build your own research. So this will reveal the previous status of the research done, or you'll be able to, the researcher will be able to will have exposure to the accumulated knowledge in that particular area. So this is going to be a very crucial, very important for the researcher to know everything possible what has been earlier done, and this will give you an insight for further. So I'm not going to read what I have written here, so reproduced here with some definition, but I've summarized that this is accumulated past knowledge on the subject, which has to be explored, and this has to be, I mean, discovered. So that will be the primary objective of in the literature review, which will analyze and synthesize all I mean earlier research done in your area. So it is a very important component and very significant feature of any research, and it will tell you that this has been done, and at the top of it will also show you that what is the methodology. I mean, sometimes it helps you, the literature review will help you to discover the methodology, because the earlier research also has been done adopting some methodology, because the choice of methodology is very crucial for the researcher. So that will also enable you, I mean, to find the different methodology adopted by different scholars, and you can choose the appropriate one so that you adopt the right methodology for this. So this is going to help the researcher, and he will have a complete and a very clear roadmap for his further research. Finally, I mean, your quality of work will depend upon your past, I mean, analyzing the past research work which other scholars have done. So I just go through the complexity of literature review. Many studies have proved that writing a good literature review needs analytical thinking, ability to criticize, evaluate, review of knowledge in a systematic way. But it's, I mean, to be critical is not that good, because to be critical, you should have authority to be critical. You should, so, and the critical analysis, I think, should be avoided in the beginning, unless you have a thorough authority on the subject. So you have to extract the information which you read a paper. You cannot copy all this thing. You have to read a particular paper and extract right information, and you you can summarize them in your own language. But one thing I may suggest to the researcher, that when you review an item or an article, please don't forget to write down its complete reference. Sometimes what happens that hurriedly you will write the title or the author, or you may miss the page number, this and this, which will create a lot of problem. So because you may avoid it and may think that I'll complete this reference later on, but that reference will not be completed at all. So this is, I mean, whenever you review anything, you read anything, the complete reference should be noted down, and I mean you should have a patience to write down the complete reference of that. Otherwise, you are going to lose it, and it will amount to full plagiarism. And unless you specify where from you have taken and giving the due reference to the source or to the author's thought. So you have to respect the author's thought, and you don't have the right to copy author's thought. So that's why the writing a reference at that time is very crucial. What we think that we mainly depend upon Google or any research engine, but dependence on Google is not sufficient. But you have to go to the right sources, and the right to know the right sources is again a big journey, and knowing all the resources. I mean, then you have to filter down that this is my area, and these are the sources which can help me in doing the survey of the literature. So you should be complete. You should have a clear idea that what you are looking for and where it will be matched. So in the beginning, conceptual clarity of the component of your statement of problems, you should be very clear about that, and you should have read. You should say, as I gave you the example of that Indian Ocean and other thing, and the geopolitics. So you should, the researcher should have a clear idea, conceptual idea, and the conceptual ideas you can read. You can go to handbooks and some of the encyclopedia, subject encyclopedia, and have a clarity. Unless you are clear about everything what you are going to do, and the analysis of every term which you are going to use in these things. So vocabulary control slightly is out of the area, out of the jurisdiction, but only thing is that you should have a vocabulary, that possibility of searching under broad term, narrow term, what are the other possible terms, so that so that you can extract maximum of the information. So I just give you some example that, for instance, we have a academic performance. Some of you are searching material on or this is your area of research. I'm giving some example here. Academic performance of Indian universities during this and this, and then international relation among developing countries, and measuring job satisfaction among bureaucrats in India, trade agreement among SAARC nations. So how you are going to do all, I mean, the search on these topics, for instance. So academic performance, you have to, academic performance, it will only retrieve those documents where that in the title it's written and academic performance, or academic performance is a subject descriptor or a keywords. But what are the other parameters of academic performance? You are not going to say, unless you have to search all other parameters which lead to academic performance. So this is then comes the next stage, the developing countries. So if you are searching a developing countries and international relations, so it will, I mean, if you match these things, so it is going to reveal, give you only where developing countries figures in the title, or it figures in the subject descriptor, or any of the other areas, but developing countries. So all developing countries, you have to go to individual developing countries and search under these developing countries. Similarly, SAARC nation. I mean, if you only search on SAARC nations, it will only give you the results where SAARC nations have been written in the description of. But if you see, you say how many countries are there, then you have to search on every country. Only then it will be comprehensive. Otherwise it will very inadequate. These things. So select the term that might have been used by the author, or that I told you by the indexer. You have to think about that, and you have to translate, as I told you, that developing countries, academic performance, etc. You have to do, and later on, by analyzing all these things, finding synonymous terms and other terms like which might have been used by the author or the indexer, you have to see all those possibilities and proceed further in searching these things. So consult. I just gave you a simple example of this catalog here. First of all, the first thing is that you must go to your own library. What library has in the electronic form or in a printed form, you should visit the library first. Find out the books available, because the handbooks, as I told you, some handbooks on your subject of choice, or some of the textbooks, or some encyclopedia. You can refer to have the conceptual clarity of the. So browse this. Whether you are going to consult a catalog under the name of the author is not known to you as a researcher. You are not governed by the author approach. You are governed by the subject approach. So the words that figures in the title and keyword and any other approach. So I will emphasize here that even the catalog, if you are not certain, please search the terms which figure not in a subject or a keyword. You may not be sure about the keyword, what keywords have been used, but the terms which have been used in the title. If you write academics performance or in title, developing countries in title, so that will give you the better result, in my opinion. But if you are expert, then you can think of keywords or a subject. But matching the keywords and the subjects may not be that appropriate for you. This is then going to, because have a patience, because every software, database has the provision for advanced searching, where you find not and or. So you can only, the filtration of search is very crucial, because when you search, it will give you many thousands of records, but you need only those records which pertains to your core areas. So this is not and or. Now this has been also simplified. Now you can use these terms in searching. So I think everybody, some of you might be knowing that or is that India or Nepal or Bangladesh. If you write, if you define these SAARC countries, so you can use or this or this or this, so it will reveal the result. And if you have to combine with this with other terms, or there can be a proximity of 2 or 3 words, so you can have that search also, that I want these these 2 terms together, so you can use and sometimes you are searching on SAARC nation except one, so you can use not this one, these country, this or not this thing. As here, one example has been given: influenza or flu and avian. So it will give you this influenza or flu only in avian. So this is the example which I thought that if you want to add, as I gave you the example, India or China or Bangladesh, similarly a copper or lead or algae. So this example, so this advanced search you. So going to at international, if you are writing a dissertation, please go to, if Indian context, it says our Shok Ganga, which has the repository of all theses submitted in Indian universities. So it will give you some idea if you go to the thesis or dissertation databases, or if you would like to go to internationally. So ProQuest is the only, database which covers its coverage of dissertation and thesis, which used to be earlier in other form. So now international dissertation abstract or something like that earlier title. Now it's with all important databases on thesis is under request. So it can help you in these things. And then I'm hurriedly say that databases, because maybe hopefully research scholar maybe from social science or maybe from science background, but you must know that what are the databases available in social science or sciences, that you should have a basic knowledge about these things, so that the choice is how you can match. But when you know, if you know that what Emerald covers, what social science index or abstract, so you have to match all these things. But familiarity with your own resources is essential, in my opinion. But then I come to the citation of citation will give you what we do sometime. You read a article which is being reviewed by you, and you come across some of these citation below that. But we normally, what we do, we ignore the citation which is given below, unless it is very important. But sometimes you'll feel that the citation given below under the references are more significant for your research than the article which you are going to, which you are presently reading. So that means that citing and cited reference have relevance. Citing and cited references, I think you will multiply. You can multiply your resources by going to the citation indexes. Don't finish your search before you consult citation indexes. I'll skip this one. All of you internationally, we have two citation indexes. Citation. I take you back to the genesis of citation. Eugene Garfield, I think many years ago, he conceived this idea that citing and cited references have a correlation and they have a relationship between them. So he invented these things, and the citation indexes are now so popular, and your credibility of the articles depends upon that how many times your paper has been cited. What is your H index? So that the calculation of this is being done based upon the citation of the articles. So the role of citation indexing is very important, and it should be finally referred to, and it will give you some insight of. So I just taken a screenshot of Web of Science, where you can have a basic search, you can have an author search, you can also have a cited reference search. So you can come to know that if you would like to know that who has cited me and where I have been cited and how many times I have been cited. So the value of an author, credibility of the author depends that how many times you have cited and what is your H index. So so these are the areas where you can have a basic search, you can have advanced search also, you can search based upon cited references. So this is a screenshot of Web of Science, and here is also such. It has, as I told you, that advanced search also, advanced reference search, journal citation report. See the versatility of this Web of Science, how advanced search you can conduct, what are the parameters here, so many parameters, author, title, and affiliation, source. So you can, the organization or the address. So they have standardized everything about all these things. If you would like to search on University of Calcutta, Jadavpur University, you can go to, say, organization is equal to Jadavpur University, you will find all the total publication of a particular organizations, and they are all analytical also will be displayed, and the performance, the credibility, these are only the assessment of the universities are based upon these. Similarly, is that elsewhere resources in Scopus. So how many articles have been published? So it is very difficult to have a track of the published material. There was, so I may should conclude because I should not take more time. So after having collected, and now this is again a finding which I have as evaluator of thesis, and I find that there is hardly a conclusion of research literature, reviewed literature. So that is very important for when you complete, and you should conclude with the findings of what literature review has given to you. So you have to synthesize, you have to organize these, the findings. How you have assembled those references. That will depend upon your own capability. The earlier system was that you prepare a card, give the caption, give the headings, sort them out, and how you are going to put it. Sequentially, you are going to put it, or under each the concept you are going to analyze. So one needs to have a analytical and synthetic power to summarize what has been, done. So this will reveal the current status of the knowledge on a particular topic, supporting the further study and giving the roadmap for so the synthesis, its organization, finally drawing the conclusion, is a very crucial aspect of writing a review. So thank you for this was my brief introduction to writing a review. Thank you very much for your patience and listening to me, attending to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Chandel. Now I request to put forward the questions that have been collected in the chat box. Is there any questions?
Nivedita Ashish, if there is, so far as I inquire, there is no question in the chat box.
Yes, sir, there is no question in the chat box, sir.
Yes. So, Chairman, you can ask from the floor 1 or 2 questions more.
Yes,
Not more than that.
Sir, I have one query. You have wonderfully discussed the pros and cons of say, selecting the topic and the selections of the literature review. You have rightly mentioned that at the beginning, the researcher will be in a fix. Whether he will first select the topic, then he will go through the literature review, or he will first go through the literature review and then he will select the topic. In your opinion, which will be wise?
Sir, in my, hypothetically, I'm saying that in 90% of the researchers, they go for literature review after.
Yeah.
But if you that is my observation, sir. But I will always suggest that let the literature review be done first.
Yes.
And it will be, I think it will be more beneficial for the researcher. He will have a clear idea where he is going to, lead.
Yes.
The path will be clear if one goes, or maybe the relevant literature, let him read, then only then he can remodify. For instance, the right choice will be if he's well read, he has read on these things, but he will have some concept, primary concept that I'm working on these things. Let him later on, remodel or restructure his statement of problem at a later stage. But tentatively, if he thinks that I'm working on this thing, let him do the research, literature review first.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Chairman, sir, I would like to add, in my opinion, I am 200% agree with Professor Chandel, because from my own experience, most of the students, more than 90%, they first want to select a topic.
Yes.
Then go to research. Even they have not seen a single research paper on his topic or her topic. Okay, sir. One thing I have, Chairman, sir, I have noticed and I have noted down only 46. I have noted down the name of the participant, and at the end of today, I will announce who are present. Those who are not present,
they will not be.
Will not consider any case on them. Okay. Thank you, sir. I request Professor Chandel and the other resource person to send a write-up, because we are going to publish one special issue on this workshop, and that will be printed as well as online. And sir, you take time within 20 or 25 days. If you send us one copy of our deliberation and a good, Devas is told that you are a young scientist, your young photograph is needed to highlight on that. Thank you, sir.
Young people don't, young people are very careless, sir. Excuse me.
Okay.
Thank you,
Chairman, sir.
Chandel. You have rightly described the different aspect of the searching of literature and review of literature. And it is right that the searching of literature is deliberate searching. You will not only read the content, but also analytically, that you have rightly mentioned that you analytically and judicially judge the content matter and different aspect, so that even the variables, design, tools, etc., that has been used in every context or every literature review to justify his or her present study. That is very much essential. And also you have mentioned one thing that is very relevant, that is the judiciously refining the content. He is taking the filtering down the information. He or she has accumulated so many information, but how to filter and take down the relevant portion, that is very important. That requires the analyzing and synthesizing power of the researcher.
Sir, may I add on this? Because refining the search strategies,
Yes.
and rarely, because why it is so? Because we don't have the patience to do that. We have a simply patience to write on the search box what a full sentence about this. So they will write history of India from this to this period, this and this, or academic excellence of various universities, of Indian universities. They will write all these things. They will not analyze what are the different components, what are the significant terms, and how to match them, how to correlate them, and so that you get the similar. What happens that you haphazardly you search the literature and it will give you 20,000 literature. So how do we know whether the first one is important or the last 10,000 last one is important? So you only read few of the articles in a software or in a database, and after 10 or 15 you leave the search, and maybe after that 20th where you have left more important citations are after that. So you leave. So you don't get hold of
Professor Chandel, you have rightly mentioned about the Shodh Ganga. May I request you to say 1 or 2 lines about the National Depository, from where the students can be benefited?
Yes. So because what happens if you are writing, if students are writing a PhD thesis, at least if you go to Shodh Ganga, it's a consolidated database of, it's a mandatory now to all the universities to send, all theses submitted in all the universities in an electronic format. And it is being managed by Inflinet, and this is a national archive of all the dissertation theses are available. At least if on the topic which a researcher has selected, if he's you go to, and this is open, this is not restricted. You go to website of Inflinet, go to Shodh Ganga, and see write the terms of what you, and it will display you all the theses which have been submitted in universities.
Thank you, sir.
So that will help.
Thank you, sir. We are waiting for your write-up that will be published in our journal, and our students and participants will be benefited. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Now I like to request Professor Bijon Kumar Sarkar to start his deliberation. His area of deliberation is research scope, objective, questions and problems, etc. Before starting his deliberations, I like to mention that Professor Bijon Kumar Sarkar, at present, the professor in the Department of Education, Kolkata University. In his credit, there are 10 books. All books are very much important and essential for the B.Ed and M.A. students. By this time, he has published at least 50 articles in the national and international journal and has participated more than 50 conferences in and abroad. And during this lockdown or during the COVID-19, Professor Bijon Sarkar has to remain engaged in deliberating addresses and in different international and national webinars. He has already, under his guidance, already 9 students have been awarded with credit, and he is also the external members. So far my knowledge is concerned, all the universities of the West Bengal, the formal universities of West Bengal, he is now the external member. So he was a student of chemistry during his postgraduate level. After the completion in the postgraduate level of chemistry, he pursued his education and has completed the PhD in education. He is still in the chair of the professor and have started in the university teaching from 2002. I had the occasion to be his colleague in a university, West Bengal State University. So for 2 to 3 years. So we have a long association. He is very much interested